indefinite strike. This was disclosed in a communique issued by the resident doctors, signed by its president, Dr. George Ibong, and the general secretary, Dr. Agbo Afiong. The association had embarked on a 7-day warning strike last Monday to press home its demands following months of unresolved negotiations with the administration. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has urged religious leaders in Nigeria to continue championing interfaith harmony, denouncing violence and fostering reconciliation in conflict-ridden communities. Speaking in Ikot Ekpene, Akwa Ibom State, at the opening of the second plenary meeting of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, the president, represented by the secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, emphasized the crucial role of faith leaders in shaping values and building trust among citizens. Tinubu commended Catholic bishops and clerics from other denominations for their consistent efforts in promoting dialogue and tolerance despite Nigeria's cultural and religious diversity. In a related development, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has urged Nigerians to be patient with the administration of President Bola Tinubu, assuring that the reforms initiated by the government will soon bear fruits of economic prosperity. Akpabio made the call in his opening address at the chairman of the second plenary meeting of Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria at Ikot Ekpene, Akwa Ibom State. In a statement by his special assistant on media and communications, Aniete Ekong, says Senator Akpabio urged citizens never to be despaired by the current situation that Nigeria is ongoing through, but look forward to a brighter future. President Bola Tinubu has flagged off the second phase of the Makurdi 9th Mile Dualization Project, a $950 million highway expected to boost trade, agriculture, and connectivity between the North Central and Southeast region. Global television correspondent Felicity Ndere has details. That report will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletin. And now moving to the education sector, where the Committee of Pro-Chancellors of State-Owned Universities have called on the federal government to take urgent steps to avert another strike in the nation's university system following the lingering dispute with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In a communique issued at the end of its 69th meeting in Abuja and signed by its acting chairman, Professor Ayodeji Omole, the Pro-Chancellors warned that Nigerian universities cannot withstand a fresh cycle of industrial action. The committee recently staged nationwide protest to press home its long-standing demands for the implementation of the renegotiated 2009 agreement between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Nigeria and Angola have formalized the renewed bilateral relations with the signing of 2 agreements aimed at combating illicit drug activities and strengthening cultural cooperation. The Special Assistant on Communications and New Media to the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Magnus Eze, stated this after the just concluded 5th session of the Nigeria-Angola Bilateral Economic Joint Commission held in Luanda, Angola. Away from that, Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation has begun the process of appointing 5 permanent secretaries following the approval of President Bola Tinubu. The Head of Service, Didi Wausinjak, in a statement issued by the Director, Information and Public Relations, Enu Oloto, said the process is designed to ensure transparency, credibility, and merit in line with the government's commitment to good governance. Wausinjak said only qualified officers on grade level 17 who have spent at least 2 years on that grade level and have been cleared by their permanent secretaries as not facing disciplinary actions are eligible. The federal government has firmly rejected claims that Nigeria's foreign policy is hypocritical, asserting that its diplomatic stance is rooted in strategic autonomy and pragmatic national interest rather than ideological alignment or double standard. Speaking at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs in Abuja, Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga, addressing rising criticisms of the country's approach to international relations. Tuga emphasized that Nigeria's foreign policy is neither insincere nor contradictory, but rather a realistic response to a rapidly shifting global order. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to providing reliable electricity to rural communities as part of efforts to expand access, create jobs, and drive economic growth through renewable energy. Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency, Abba Bubakar Aliyu, said in Maiduguri that the agency, under its Energizing Education program, has commenced the training of 1,500 young Nigerians on renewable energy technologies, with 100 students of the University of Maiduguri forming the first batch of beneficiaries. Aliyu also noted that the program, which aligns with President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, targets unreserved, underserved communities to improve livelihoods and reduce dependence on fossil fuels. And now to Hajj matters, where the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, has outlined a series of landmark achievements recorded under the administration of President Bola Tinubu, describing the 2025 Hajj exercise as a turning point for Nigerian pilgrims. A briefing delivered by Chairman of the Commission, Professor Abdullahi Usman, stated that NAHCON affirmed that despite economic headwinds and logistical challenges, Nigeria's Hajj operations have been redefined in line with the Renewed Hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Usman said Nigerian pilgrims and the Commission have received unprecedented support under the present administration, leading to record-breaking success that has restored confidence in the system and reaffirmed the nation's commitment to transparency and efficiency. And now to weather outlook, where the Nigerian Meteorological Agency NIMET has forecasted thunderstorms and rainfall across the country from Monday to Wednesday. A weather outlook released by the agency predicted isolated thunderstorms with moderate rains on Monday morning over Kaduna, Gombe, Bauchi, Kebbi, Adamawa, and Taraba states. In the afternoon and evening, isolated thunderstorms with moderate rain are expected across the northern region. Flash floods are likely in Adamawa, Taraba, and Gombe State. Heading to Lagos State, where in a major step towards bridging Lagos State's healthcare gap, the State University Teaching Hospital has unveiled 2 new operating theatres and a 10-bed intensive care unit under a public-private partnership with Ambulance Company. In a statement, the Chief Medical Director of Teaching Hospital, Professor Adetokunbo Fabonwo, described the commissioning as a celebration of a very stable partnership aimed at tackling 2 long-standing challenges: the backlog of elective surgical cases and the shortage of critical care bed. Fabonwo also highlighted the impact of the new intensive care unit facility on emergency care in the state. You are watching the live broadcast of the Midday News. When the Midday News returns, China, United States resume trade talks in Madrid amidst escalating tensions. Details coming shortly, plus business and sport stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that break, and if you're just tuning in, this is the Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital. I am Mukhtar Kasim. And now to business news, where the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Power Generating Companies, Joy Ogaji, has kicked against the threat to disconnect generating companies from the national grid, warning that unstable transmission and market failures are damaging their plant and deepening losses. Power generation companies also demanded regulations mandating the immediate payment of their revenue by off-takers. This is coming after threats by the federal government's owned Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission that GENCOs who fail to install the free governor control would be power generation companies from the grid. Dangote Petroleum Refinery says starting today, it will roll out over 1,000 compressed natural gas powered trucks to begin the first phase of its direct fuel distribution scheme, as the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria have said it is ready to receive Dangote trucks at its various stations. Officials at the Dangote refinery said the direct distribution would begin as part of activities marking 1 year since the refinery started action. Initially scheduled to commence on August 15, the scheme was delayed due to logistics problem in China. And 4,000 compressed natural gas trucks were ordered from China to be delivered in Lagos for Dangote's direct fuel distribution. Looking at international business, China and the United States have resumed trade talks in Madrid seeking to narrow difference on trade and technology that have strained relations between the world's two largest economies. Talks restarted at Spain's foreign ministry a day after delegations led by the United States Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lefeng opened the latest rounds of discussions. The meetings are expected to continue through Wednesday. The agenda includes two of the most sensitive issues in bilateral relations, which is President Donald Trump's threat of steep tariffs on Chinese import and Washington's demands that TikTok be sold to a non-Chinese owner or face a United States ban by September 17. And now to news making rounds on the international scene. The World Health Organization (WHO) has begun vaccinating frontline health workers and contact of infected individuals in response to a new Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kasai province. The health ministry in Kinshasa said the outbreak, declared in early September, is the country's first in 3 years. The virus, which thrives in the country's dense tropical forest, has so far resulted in 32 suspected cases, 20 confirmed, and 16 deaths. An initial 400 doses of the Ebola vaccine have been delivered to Bulap, the epicenter of the outbreak, from a national stockpile of 2,000 doses. The International Coordinating Group on Vaccine Provision has approved the shipment of an additional 45,000 doses to help contain the spread. Now from London, where tensions erupted during a large protest. The gathering led to clashes between protesters and police, as well as counter-protests from community groups advocating for tolerance and inclusion. Our international correspondent, Michael Edikon, has details of the report.
And the London street turned into a stage for Britain's anxieties on Saturday as far-right activist Tommy Robinson drew a crowd, thousands of figures. Now, the police has actually confirmed that over 110,000 marchers came to London, some by train and coach, for what was called a festival of free speech. But speeches during the event had spread some racist conspiracy theories and anti-Muslim comments across that protest. At the United Kingdom march, participants carried St. George flags and the Union Jack and chanted, "We want our country back." Now, recently, flags have become more common across the United Kingdom in recent months, with some viewing them as national pride and as a sign of a growing nationalism. But however, there was a mix of rival protests against the fascism organized by Stand Up to Racism attracted a 5,000 crowd as well. Now, these counter-protesters carried differently signs that read "Refugees welcome" and smashed the far right while chanting "Stand up and fight back." Now, the police force say that officers were trying to intervene in multiple locations, stopping the protesters trying to access the sterile areas and breach police cordons to opposing groups. These numbers of officers have been assaulted, and the cause of that, there's also confirmed that 26 officers were injured in the clashes and 25 people were arrested. And that rally came amid political debate in the United Kingdom over migrants crossing the English Channel in small boats without authorization. Now, the summer saw several anti-migrant protests outside hotels and seeking asylum. Edika Michael reporting from England.
Let's now turn our attention to development in the Middle East, where Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the visit by top United States diplomat Marco Rubio to Israel underscores the strength of ties between allies days after an unprecedented Israeli strike targeting Hamas leaders in Qatar drew broad criticism. Uyi Agbomofuegbe reports.
Netanyahu spoke to journalists during a visit to Jerusalem's Western Wall after offering prayers at the religious sites alongside Rubio and Washington's envoy to Israel, Mike Huckabee.
Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, and his wife, Jana. I think his visit here is a testament to the durability, the strength of the Israeli-American alliance. It's as strong and as durable as the stones of the Western Wall that we just touched. Under President Trump and Secretary Rubio and their entire team, this alliance has never been stronger.
The Israeli Prime Minister has defended the operation, which targeted Hamas officials gathering to discuss a new U.S. ceasefire proposal, saying killing the group's leaders would remove what he had termed the main obstacle to ending the Gaza war. The attack on the U.S. ally and key mediator in Gaza truce talks has prompted Arab and Muslim leaders to gather for a show of solidarity in Doha, where Qatar's Prime Minister urged the world to reject double standards and hold Israel to account. U.S. leader Donald Trump has rebuked Israel over Tuesday's strike, and Rubio acknowledged to reporters before departing Washington that the president was not happy about it. He, however, insisted that the attack would not change the nature of America's relationship with the Israelis. Rubio's main meetings with officials, including Netanyahu, will take place on Monday before he departs on Tuesday. His visit coincides with Monday's emergency summit of Arab and Muslim leaders in Qatar, whose Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani had addressed a preparatory meeting on Sunday. Uyi Agmofwegbe reporting for Global TV News.
Coming back home to Africa, in Malawi, where the electorates have headed to the polls tomorrow in a fiercely contested presidential election that sees former President Peter Mutharika attempting a dramatic political comeback at the age of 84. Mutharika, who led the country from 2014 to 2020, is taking on incumbent President Lazarus Chakwera, accusing him of wrecking the economy and mismanaging key sectors. And despite once hitting he was done with politics, Mutharika says his return to rescue the nation, and his supporters, particularly in rural communities and informal communities, say life was better under his leadership. Now, Qatar's Prime Minister has urged the international community to reject double standards and hold Israel accountable, speaking on the eve of the emergency summit called in response to an unprecedented Israeli strike on Hamas members in Doha. The deadly attack carried out by one United States ally on the territory of another sparked a wave of criticism, including a rebuke from President Donald Trump, who nonetheless dispatched Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Israel in a show of support. On Monday's emergency gathering of Arab and Islamic leaders will serve as a pointed show of unity among Gulf countries and to seek to pile more pressure on Israel, which is already facing mounting calls to bring an end to the war and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And now to the world of sports, where Nigeria's under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles, departed Abuja for Chile in order to finalize their preparation for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in the host country. The seven-time African champions are on a mission to end Nigeria's long wait for a first-ever FIFA Under-20 World Cup title, having camped in Abuja for the last 1 month. The tournament will be played from September 27 to October 19. Meanwhile, the 2-week training camp in Chile begins on Tuesday. Still talking football, the Guild of Sport Editors of Nigeria have criticized the Nigerian Football Federation for its poor management of the Super Eagles 2026 World Cup qualifying campaign, describing the federation's approach as inept and lacking in strategic vision. The umbrella body of sports desk managers across Nigeria media houses expressed frustration over the team's precarious position in Group C, where Nigeria currently sits third with 11 points from 7 matches, with South Africa leading the group on 17 points and Benin Republic in second with 14 points. The Super Eagles face an uphill battle to secure automatic qualification or even a spot at the playoff with just 2 games remaining. Former Manchester United goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel has revealed the response he got from Manchester City's goalie Gianluigi Donnarumma when he questioned his decision to shun the Red Devils. Schmeichel said he attempted to pursue the Italian goalkeeper to move to Manchester United. He said this followed Manchester City's 3-0 victory against Manchester United. And that's it on the midday news on Global Television. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Qasim, saying a very big thank you for watching.